Salute to everyone who is watched it all back to dominant. So, before I actually prepare for my love and sex series on marriage, because I think it's very much imperative for me to talk about marriage. I've been talking about marriage, and I'm even talking about understanding marriage. But today, before I actually talk about that, I need to really specify um what is the difference between, let's go. So I'm going to talk about the difference between a relationship and dating. So we'll explore the differences between dating and relationships. So I made a comparison. I actually chose AI to tell me what is the difference. And then it told me this, that dating is often the early stages where people get to know each other romantically. It is about learning compatibility, exploring values, interests, and chemistry, short-term and long-term versus long-term mindset. Some dates for fun, others for serious intent, flexibility, and ambiguity. Uh, this is what happened before I decided I became a kingdom citizen, where I was dating a lot of people. There was a point that I went to 7 dates with, I went on 7 dates in 3 days because I was dating. Relationship, the difference is that the relationship, once a connection deepens, it is often transitioning into a relationship which typically involves mutual commitment. Both parties agree to be exclusive, emotional intimacy, trust, vulnerability, stability, and growth is about building something together, social recognition that it's acknowledged by friends and whatnot. And mind you, there is no sex here between these two. So why is dating a big thing more than relationships? The first reason is that people stay in the dating phase more than usual. That is why we actually have a term for it, calling it the hookup culture, where people want the perks of marriage and relationship in the dating phase, where they want to see if she will have sex with him as much as possible, or he will give her as much money as possible in the dating phase. Secondly, people have lost the purpose of dating, and the Bible does not necessarily use the word dating and relationships. It uses the word courtship, because when God uses the word, he wants us to invest more into courting someone. That is why they call it courting. But because we have lost that concept, we just date for no reason. And thirdly is that it is an excuse for us to have multiple sex partners. And I did talk about this in the video when I spoke about sex and what are the repercussions of just having sex, multiple sexual partners. It can be diseases, can be single motherhood, pregnancies, and even mental problems. People don't necessarily like to talk about the mental problem that sex creates when you have it with multiple people or the wrong gender. So the delusion of having options. And this one is the one that social media has brainwashed us to think that you have more options than whatnot. That is why even divorce rates are so high. That is why we right now play with each other's feelings to say that, you know what, I'm going to date 3, 4 guys, and then I want to choose from the best out of those guys. And what ends up doing is that she can sleep with all of them. Or when, I'm not saying that when you get to know, especially for men, not women, you should go for the first person that you see. But it doesn't give you the license to sleep with them all and to see which one has the lower body count. That is demonic. So how did we get to this point? Because something started somewhere through the division of the family. This is the topic on its own. When I talk about the division of the family, the devil knows what he has done when he decided that, you know what, I'm going to destroy the family. He did this strategically, and he made it very difficult because in the past, if you wanted to have sex, you have to get married. Now, because of the liberation of men and women, what ends up doing is that we just have sex like nobody's business. And that is one of the things that has caused the division of the nuclear family. Secondly, the idea that consequences are less important than the decisions to date. So right now, we don't like thinking about the consequences. And I've seen this with myself when I was younger, where people are not afraid of sexual transmitted infections more than pregnancy. So what they do is that they have sex. They don't think about what is going to happen after I have sex with this person. We just do it. We just date. And when things don't go our way, we become surprised. And the third thing is that the lack of knowing what relationships need from the men and the women, meaning that firstly, the role or the roles that men and women play in the relationship. You know, this egalitarian society that tells you that there are no roles in a relationship, they have been lying to you. And if you believe that, you tell me if you are still married right now after 10 years, or if you're actually married in the first place. So what can be done? Let's look first. Sex in wedlock must be emphasized. I have taken the time to understand why sex in wedlock is not emphasized enough. It is natural for you to not want to have condoms, to have sex with condoms in wedlock, because you know that condoms are a sin. These days, we don't talk about sex in wedlock. We just talk about sustenance. But we never talk about what are the repercussions of having sex out of wedlock. And one of those repercussions is the fact that there are things called soul ties. And these soul ties, what they do is that they damage the person. That is why I say that we never speak about the mental repercussion of having sex with people we are not married to. It damages you mentally. And being married does not help you if you have already damaged yourself before you get married. Because I broke my virginity, I slept with a lot of women. There's something I can never get because I have slept with so many women, that it makes me always want to see if my current partner is better than the partner that I had before. And if she's not, then I have to go to the next one. And it raises expectation also, that when you are in the relationship with someone, you always compare them with the next person. I'm actually talking about more of marriage than relationship and dating. And the reason why I'm doing that is because the point of relationship is to see if that person is compatible to get married to. That is why I'm talking so much about it. Relationships are more than sex, kisses, and texting every day. The measure of how a relationship is working these days, it has become so stupid, filling with so much emotion, that if I do not text you in the morning, or I don't text you during the day, or I don't text you each and every minute of the day, it means that I don't love you anymore. And that is where the problem has come, that we measure the success of a relationship based on these aspects: sex, kisses, texting every day, money, materialistic stuff. We measure it based on that. And unfortunately, that is why we jump from 10 relationships, and the 11th one, we go there whilst our feathers have been plucked off. That's when we think we are ready for marriage. And the third thing is that parents must teach their children about healthy relationships. I did another video on love and sex use, on which age can parents start telling their children about dating and sex. These are the first people that are supposed to teach their children about this. Because especially now, because I'm a teacher, I can see these children become very hormonal between ages of 11 to 13, where they start dating because they feel they suddenly Lisa's butt looks attractive, or Lerato's voice suddenly, because it's deep, it makes you feel somehow. And if you are a parent, you have not told them about that. Unfortunately, even if you do not, the streets will teach your child on what needs to happen. So now, transitioning from dating into relationships, let's see the first thing. Dating without the end goal of a relationship is useless. That is why people are easily into this hookup culture, where they want to see if this guy is a sex champion first. They want to see if the guy gives money. They want to see if the girl is willing to do all sorts of weird things for them. So if you are dating right now, I'm telling you, if you are dating without the motive of being in a relationship, especially without the motive of marriage, actually, I'm not saying get married to everyone you date. When your motivation is marriage, you have a different mindset when it comes to the kind of people you date, more than when you don't have that motive. When you're just saying, you know what, I'm in a relationship, I'll just see what happens. It becomes very useless. Secondly, having a relationship without knowing what is required from you is useless. Like I specified before, that you need to have expectations of being in a relationship, and what makes you feed the relationship. If you do not know it, it's very useless. What includes the roles that you play in the relationship, what did needed from you. If I could give an example, when you are in a relationship, you need to sacrifice your time to spend with someone else. You need to learn their vulnerability without judgment. Dating must be the initiation of a relationship. I actually would like to extend that dating must be an initiation for a marriage, not just a relationship. Because when your motive is to be in a relationship, you might end up having a 15-year relationship because you never thought about the end goal to this. And the end goal, not really the end goal, but part of the process is marriage. So let's go. So what does the Bible say about relationships? Actually want to drink some water. And one thing I like about this love and sex reviews is that we always see what Yahweh has to say about whatever that we are doing. So 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 and verse 7 to 8. It says that charity suffers long and is kind. Charity endeavoreth not. Charity vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up. This English. All things, believeth all things, hopefully all things. Charity never faileth. But where there prophecies, they shall fall. Where there will be tongues. I don't know why I included that actually. 1 John 4, 7 to 8. Beloved, let us love one another, for God, like I said, the love of God should be the one that motivates you when you understand the agape love. That is the type of marriage you should be looking at. This chapter 13 talks about love. So it's exploring the things that love is required. So Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 to 28, one of my favorite verses. So man created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created man and female, he created them. That is why I always emphasize that homosexuality is a sin, and that the relationship between men and a woman is more natural and practical, more than women and women, and men and men, and trans whatever. Secondly, Genesis chapter 2 verse 11. Then God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make him a helper." You see, when I talk about the rules, ladies should understand that their role in a man's life is a helper. And unfortunately, when you don't understand what a helper is, you end up believing what the matriarchy and feminism and liberation makes you think. That when you're a helper and you're submissive, it means you have a lesser role to play and you are less important. And that is absolutely not true. Jump into verse 24. It says that, "Then for a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they two shall become one," which is the definition of marriage. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 25 to 29. "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." Not enough said, "that he might sanctify her, having cleansed by..." When you're a man, one of your roles is to make sure that your woman is always clean. So let's go. Let's see if there are more verses. What ways can we look at relationships different from now on? So concentrate on what works more than feelings. In the past, our parents did not divorce and had better relationships than us because they were not obsessed with how they felt. They were obsessed on what works. That is why you see our mothers had no problem staying at home, because they knew that that is what works. That is why, but these days it's hard to live with one income because of how costs are. But they knew, because sex was more than just feelings. It's about feeding the marriage. And that is what works. That is why they did not restrict each other the way that now they do, because all of us are so obsessed with feelings right now. The motive of relationship is marriage, not long cohabitation, as I mentioned before. Thirdly, you have to make time to invest in it. Like I said, when it comes to what you need to do when you are in a relationship, you need to realize that you have to make time to invest in the relationship. If you have a money investment, for it to grow, you need, in as much as you gain interest, you need to get in more cash so that it can grow better and better. That is the same thing when it comes to relationship. It compounds based on what you making time to invest in it and actually doing the things that it needs to make it work. Fourthly, communication, love, service, trust, and etc. equals to knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. The fundamentals of you going into relationship. If you don't have knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, you would want to base your foundation of the marriage based on communication, love, service, and whatnot. The foundation should be knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, which is a principle from the Bible that tells you that you cannot build a home if you do not understand. Fifthly, having a relationship with God can help you regulate your relationships better. I will tell you right now, that is why women know this, that they are more likely to get married and have a relationship when they go to church, because they know that the church allows them to regulate marriage relationships better. I'm not saying that they know how to some of the most sinful women are church women. I'm not gonna lie. But you are more likely to think of a relationship and have better relationships when you have God, Yahweh, on your side. And the second last point, or relationships are not about sex. I don't know when is the last time I've heard someone tell me that they're in a relationship for a year or so and they have not had sex with a person. And not because of the 90-day rule that they have heard, or the fact that they want to evaluate if the person is right for them. No. But with the motive of marriage, especially if they're a virgin. Because when you're not a virgin and you say you're waiting for marriage, it's useless. You gave someone your virginity or your self for free. So I think that is the end of our love and sex series for today. Give this video a big thumbs up. I hope that the next video I can do on the love and sex series will be about marriage and understanding marriage. But that one, I'm going to do parts of it because it's a very long topic and it's one of those topics that needs to be explored. So give the video a big thumbs up, subscribe and comment below. Check out in the description the article on the separation between sex and marriage. Always remember /JackXY so to speak to you.